I've gathered you to this candlelit dinner for one reason. It may seem romantic to you, but to me, these flames signify the burning rage inside of me over losing power for 4 days.
Yeah, no, I feel like we watched one of these movies a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, if you think it's going to be boring, we don't have to talk about it long or whatever, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about a little bit. Long story short, I know that this is, oversimplifying the situation, but a 7-minute storm happened, and 300,000 people lost power for 4 days.
Yeah.
And some 100,000, I don't know, still don't have power. I could check the DTE app if you're interested.
I'm not. I was there. I experienced it.
I'm still going to check, sorry.
Okay.
I'm interested in how many people still don't have power. But it was roughly 12% of their customer base lost power.
For sure, I feel like talking about this on the show like this
Yeah.
definitely feels like doing stand-up that is, like, specific to your roommates.
Yeah.
Like, hey, has anyone noticed that Chris brushes his teeth like this? But
11,000 people still don't have power.
exactly. So those 11,000 people might appreciate listening to this when they eventually can. Yeah, I was going to bring this up too. Just one specific part.
Also,
of
I
it,
should
though.
specify I do this all the time. It's 1,100, not 11,000.
Okay, well,
You ever have that problem? You ever
yeah,
do that?
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
They go to see a number. I have to think about it first. And goes at 1,000 or 100. But yeah, unless it's like 100 to 900. It's anything over that. Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you have anything more specific to say about it?
Well, I was going to go on for a little while, yeah.
Okay.
What's your finer point? Were you going somewhere?
No, there was just one part of it that I wanted to talk about.
Maybe we'll get there.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So it happened on a Monday at like 6 p.m. You just got
Set the
home.
scene.
And we keep beautiful, in my opinion, outdoor Olive Garden lights in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
It's very beautiful. Very tasteful. I'm sitting on the couch. You're standing up. Before we even get the chance to say hi to each other, it goes out. We both look at it, and we're like, I'll be back on in 10 minutes.
And then 4 days pass.
Yeah, 4 days passed. But anyways, first night, it's kind of cute. We were like, oh, how funny it would be if we went and got like little saucers for candles, and we walked around in nightgowns and,
Yeah.
Christmas Carol.
That might have been my favorite part. Is our friend of the show, Elton,
Yeah.
was with us, and we went and did that. And we got a bunch of candles and little candlesticks and candle holders, and we walked around all hunched over, going, "Who goes there?" And just dumb stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very Scrooge. My favorite part is that I guarantee you, between the three of us, the thought of a flashlight never occurred to any of us.
Yeah, and we charged phone and car for hours or whatever. Went to bed. Next day, got my hands on a generator. That was a fiasco. I appreciate the fact that I was lent the generator. Also, I had to run the generator the wrong way for just 3 days. Yeah, because I'm not a mechanic. I don't know engines. But there's like a choke switch that after you get it going, you're supposed to flip over. That thing just did not want to go over without shutting the whole thing down. And when I called my stepdad, he was just like, "Nah, fuck it, run it with that thing off or on. I don't know which one is the wrong one, but whichever one's the wrong one." So that thing just guzzled gas for like 3 days. So on top of everything I was normally doing, I had to like intermittently like run and get $8 worth of gas in a 2-gallon thing and pour it in the fucking thing every couple hours because it was just guzzling.
Yeah, I stayed here the first night without power. I watched you fuck with the generator for about 45 minutes.
It was like 2 hours total that I did it.
Yeah, I watched for maybe an hour, and I went, I'm going to go. And I stayed somewhere else for a couple days, and then I came back when we had power.
Yeah. And I will also say this is also, I don't know how interesting this is. There was definitely a couple of days that I spent where my primary hobby was just hopping on Twitter and watching everybody at DT and just be like, "Hey, DT, suck my balls."
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, the rage was genuinely just like, I can remember Tuesday opening the little app or whatever and it being like, 80% of the people out of power should have it back by Thursday. And I was like, yeah, what, the Thursday?
Yeah.
So anyways, it came back Thursday. There's not much else to talk about without getting boring, but that's the overview. What was the specific part you wanted to talk about?
We had food in our fridge.
Yeah.
And so, like you do when you lose power, I'm going to go get a bunch of bags of ice.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my fridge into a big cooler.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a smart idea of us. Go us.
Yeah.
But I opened to check to see if you did it, and I was like, ice isn't in there.
Yeah.
And you came running over. You're like, shut the fridge. It's going to lose all the cold. And I was
Yeah.
like, what about the ice? And you're like, it's in there. And what you had done, so you had taken all of our things,
Yeah.
put it on the bottom row of the fridge,
Yeah.
and then opened the produce drawers on the bottom, and put the ice in there, and then
Yeah.
closed those. So, in my opinion, nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a separation between the ice and the food. Why would you do that? And we had maybe the biggest fight we've ever had about anything about it. And it's so... I don't even want to talk about whether I was right or you were right.
Yeah.
I thought about doing this bit on here and calling your dad and asking for his opinion, but I don't feel like doing it right now. So just imagine I did that and it was very funny. But I don't know. I think only a handful of times have you and I been in this type of argument where I can just see on your face how just not so much angry, but just like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I can see this look on your face about how just confused you are about how we're not agreeing on this, because you and I most of the time agree on everything.
Yeah.
And I can see this look on your face, and it's so weird because I can feel that look happening inside of me, and it's like I'm looking in a mirror, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this right now.
Yeah.
And this is like the only time it's ever happened. Well, me and you get in an argument, but we're just doing this, and Elton's there, and he's on my side sometimes, and he's on your side sometimes. And I'm like, well, Chris, why wouldn't the ice just touch that? And you're like, it's making the whole thing cold. And in my brain, for just like, as quick as lightning, just a flash of a thought, and my brain goes, well, you could hit him. And I'm like, I've never felt that way about anyone before. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't be doing that.
Wild.
Anyway, all the food got fucked the next day, and we ended up having to throw everything away.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched our second movie, and now we're here.
Was that the end of it?
Yeah, that's all I had to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's the most tragic part about the whole ordeal is that, like, the ice was a good idea for, like, yeah, you know, if it's going to be out for 12 hours.
Exactly, yeah.
Good call. But when you wake up in the morning and power's not on, you can't keep doing ice.
Exactly.
Ice has run its course.
I took an autism test. You want to talk about that?
What were the results?
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but many people over the course of my life, whether it be friends or family or medical professionals, been like, hey, you might want to take one of these tests. And I'm always like, nah, I'm fine. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
And then earlier today, someone sent one to me that they've been talking about for a while. And I took it. It's about, I think it was like 80 questions or something like that.
Okay.
And some of these questions I screenshotted because I'm like, oh, you guys just got me down. You guys got me. Question 39. I cannot tell when someone's flirting with me. True now and when I was young was my answer. 58. I can chat and make small talk with people. Never true. Question 64. How to make friends and socialize is a mystery to me. True now and always. And so here are the interpretations of the scores. If you get a score of 25, you are not autistic.
Okay.
You're not on the spectrum. 50, some autistic traits, but likely not autistic. 65, minimum score at which autism is considered. A score of 90, stronger indications of autism, though non-autistic may score as high.
Okay.
130, the mean score of autistic people, strong evidence of autism. Score of 160, very strong evidence for autism. Chris, I got a score of 161. So,
yeah,
that's cool to know about myself. Also, it's just an online test, so I'm not taking it.
Yeah. Well, let me talk to your doctor.
Very seriously. I'd rather not.
Okay.
Is that weird of me?
I guess. I don't know. My sister just found out she's autistic, so.
Like, what can you do about it? Like, if you know, like, for sure that you're on the spectrum,
I don't know.
do I just have to go through the rest of my life being like, well, I know that for a fact now, or I could live in this nice little limbo where, like, am I? I have Schrodinger's autism. Am I autistic? Am I not autistic? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know my sister has talked about resources. I've never inquired what those resources might be that become unlocked if you have that trait. I don't
Can I
know.
get a grant or something?
I don't know.
Can I make some quiche off of this?
I don't know.
In that case, I'd for sure do it.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What movie you want to talk about first? We watched Mulholland Drive and TITANE.
Your call.
Oh.
Dealer's choice,
Oh.
if you will.
I gotta run to the mailbox before I get the mail. Okay, so for like every week, TITANE, written by a listener. We didn't get one for Mulholland Drive, so I wrote Mulholland Drive myself.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna hand you both letters, upside down.
Uh-huh.
You should pick one.
Yeah, I kind of remember the rough situation, I feel like, so maybe if I shuffle it like one of those little stands that cartoon characters set up in public spaces, put a ball underneath one of the cups kind of deal, you know? I think I saw Bart Simpson doing that
Yeah, for
at a school fair one time.
That's like old school depiction of New York.
Well, what are the odds? I pulled the first movie we watched.
Oh, Mulholland Drive, nice. You okay? We've been doing that a lot lately.
I've been fucked since I took that booster.
Nah.
I think I'm still kind of getting over it. I got COVID boosted. A preview of Mulholland Drive, written by Nick Johnson. Mulholland Drive is David Lynch's penultimate film. Unless you consider Twin Peaks The Return to be an 18-hour film, which would make Inland Empire his penultimate film, and you a pretty cool dude. Largely considered to be Lynch's best work, starring Naomi Watts, Laura Harring? Sure. Starring Naomi Watts, Laura Herring, and Justin Theroux. I remember none of this movie. 7 out of 10. Well, don't worry, because I've got a steel trap. So they called me. Well, that's not really what they called me. They called me Elephant Brains. Well, that's not true. My partner calls me that. They used to call me Bitch Boy.
Anyway, I think this is the first... Oh, sorry. Chris, what's your experience with the Mulholland Drive? I forgot this time.
No, that's okay. I have no experience with this at all. I really don't. Maybe we watched it the other day. That's about it.
Same.
Yeah. I did not know it was his penultimate film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did not know that Wild at Heart was like 1990, and it like was only 3 years after Blue Velvet. And same thing with Lost Highway. For some reason, I pegged Lost Highway as being in the early aughts, and definitely not Mulholland Drive. I thought it was a mid-90 release. For some reason in my head I had it that it was like 95 or something, but that's more in line with what Lost Highway was. So
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, no, watching this movie, I was like, oh, I don't know what Lost Highway is. Because everything I saw in this movie, I'm like, I thought this is what Lost Highway was.
Interesting. What about you? Do you have any history to talk about, or do you just want to get into the movie?
No, you put this on your list for things we should watch for the show. And you said, I want to watch it. And I said, well, let's watch it. Yeah. And then it was time to pick another movie. I was like, what am I going to pick? And you're like, you picked Mulholland Drive. I was like, no, you did. Yeah. And we got into a fight, not as big as the ice one, but still a little scuffle. Yeah, just another David Lynch movie I've heard of. I know it was originally a television show.
Ooh.
You can look up the pilot online.
Ooh.
And it's so strange to see.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the first hour of this movie. But it looks like it's shot on a different camera.
Okay.
It looks like it's shot on a video camera.
Okay.
But they're the same shots. And like it makes me think that it was like a Tommy Wiseau The Room thing where he had the contraption with 2 cameras on top of each other so we could film it twice. Yeah, it was going to be a TV show.
Are we ever going to do The Room?
I'd rather not.
Are you ever going to see The Disaster Artist?
I have.
Oh,
I haven't seen The Room, but I've seen The Disaster Artist.
Oh, interesting. I'm the opposite.
Oh God, what's his name? The actor, he plays Sheriff Truman in season 3 of Twin Peaks.
Great question.
You know who I'm talking about, though?
Sure, actor? Yeah. Old guy.
Yeah. I want to say it's Frank something?
Sure. I don't know if I'd even know it.
He's in this movie.
Yeah.
For a minute, and he's a police officer.
Okay.
And he was going to be a reoccurring character on the show. That's why he shows up for a minute.
Didn't peg him. Don't even really remember the police officer scene you're talking about.
It's like right at the beginning.
I guess I lied about that steel trap thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And originally, the pilot, the inception for the show was going to be a spin-off of Twin Peaks, and our main character, played by Naomi Watts in this movie, was going to be Audrey Horne. Not like the actress who plays Audrey Horne.
That's very
Audrey
interesting.
Horne was going to be the main character of that show.
Okay.
And this is, I don't know, I think the first David Lynch thing I've seen, or when it was done, I was like, I got nothing. I got no idea what this movie, I got nothing on what this movie's trying to do or say.
Yeah.
Or mean. And then I did a little research afterwards.
Which is interesting because to this point, your criticism of the movies has been, I get it, and I got it quick.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
After doing a little bit of research about this movie and hearing other people's thoughts and opinions on what's going on in it, I think the general consensus is, at the end where she's a different person and everybody else is a different person for a bit. That's real life, and the rest of this is a dream she's having.
Okay.
I don't know about you, Chris.
Uh-huh.
But after watching Synecdoche, New York, after watching them thinking of ending things, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of watching movies that are happening kind of in people's heads. Yeah. Like, as soon as I started hearing someone say that, I was like, fuck, all right. Yeah. I think apparently the first shot of this movie, you can hear her doing a big hit of crack. Like you just hear someone lighting a crack pipe. And apparently this whole movie is happening while she's...
It's a pipe dream?
It's literally a pipe dream. Yeah, apparently this whole movie's a pipe dream.
Interesting.
Or maybe it's not, depending on how you want to see it.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Or it's up to the...
Yeah. I'm going to choose to never think about that ever again.
Yeah.
Because, I don't need a 2.5-hour movie where the first hour is a dream.
Yeah.
Personally.
I just, unfortunately for the most part, like I said, because of the power outage, I remember moments of this movie, and that's pretty much it.
Well, we start with what would be a really kick-ass Apple commercial if Apple commercials didn't suck. You know what I'm talking about, when it used to be like green with like little white people dancing or whatever?
Oh, right. That's how this movie starts.
It starts with something really cool. I'm like, that's really cool. I like this.
It's her at that... no, that's right. She talks about winning some competition in her hometown.
I guess I don't have a steel trap. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Wow, I really don't have a steel trap. Okay, we get a couple of things. Yeah, we get our main... Oh, that's right. We start with there's a car accident on a Mulholland Drive. Or Sunset Boulevard? Or is it Mulholland Drive?
I think it's Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, but she wanders to Sunset Boulevard?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways. This is odd. She's in the back seat of the car. Our to-be love interest of Naomi Watts. And there's a couple of guys, and they're like, we're going to stop up here. And she's like, we don't stop here. And then a car full of rowdy college students just slam into him. She lives, and in a very Lynchian moment, not in the sense that most people mean it, but I mean it in the sense of, like, you know how we were talking about Charlie Kaufman, and like how like he must have had some very specific experiences in his life. David Lynch did have a very specific experience in his life where, as a child, one of his earliest memories is at night a woman naked and bleeding wandering out of the woods towards him and his brothers or whatever, or his brother. And that's why in like Blue Velvet and this movie, and even in Twin Peaks, you get that shot of a woman hurt, like wandering out. Like you have Ronette Pulaski on the train tracks, or he put this disease in me, or in this film. And to have a tangent on top of a tangent, I think of this movie a lot like the Blue Velvet. There are a lot of things that are very similar. You kind of have this plucky, young, naive main character who falls in love with a sort of dark and mysterious woman with an accent, who helps her work through a mystery. Yeah.
So it's... It sucks. It sucks knowing or hearing someone say that this movie's a pipe dream, because every problem I have with it, I'm like, well, it's literally a pipe dream. So like it's and parts of it are nice and they make sense. Like when she gets to Hollywood, and she's at the airport, she meets a very nice couple, and then she turns around and a cab is already putting her bags in the back of the trunk. She doesn't have to hail a cab or anything like that. Like things are just going well for her. And it's like, that makes sense because it's a dream. But then like for the rest of the movie, I'm like, oh, it's so strange that this woman just wandered in her house and she's like, I'm gonna help you solve this caper.
Yeah.
And go to the police. That's what you should do.
So the movie is supposed to be a crack addict in LA who came here. At least her dream was that she was going to become a famous actress, but instead she's just a little crack addict.
Yeah, because her girlfriend got a part instead and then started dating Justin Trudeau, and they're getting married.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Well, anyways, we'll get there eventually. Yeah, so the lady who was in the car accident wanders off into the woods. Very Lynchian moment. Seen it 2 times before. Maybe more. I haven't seen all of his movies. I've seen it 2 times before.
There's a lot of scenes in this that reminded me of, and I think it's supposed to be on purpose. There are a lot of like shots and like moments in this that straight up are in the 3rd season of Twin Peaks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the naked woman coming out of the woods.
Then she wanders into Naomi Watts' grandmother's house. She happens to be moving out. She goes into that thing. Then, yeah, you're right. We meet Naomi Watts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she makes friends with these old people, hails a cab, goes to her house, finds the woman taking a shower in her grandmother's house, her aunt's house, whatever, yeah. And assumes it must be a friend of her aunt, and they become pals. Very quickly, she realizes this woman has amnesia and a bunch of cash. Very exciting.
Yeah. Chris, if you could have amnesia for a day, would you? I feel like it'd be cool.
What kind of hijinks could I get up to?
Like for sure today the Will Smith is going to come in here with that Men in Black thing.
Yeah.
He's going to wipe your memory for a day, and tomorrow your memory will be back.
Yeah.
And you'll still remember Amnesia Day.
Yeah.
I just feel like it'd be real cool to just walk around my own life and know just dick about all of it.
Yeah, I probably would. It's a very similar commitment to spending your day doing acid.
Yeah, it just seems exciting. When I see her walking around being like, I don't know who I am, I'm like,
Yeah.
let me do that again with the accent. When I just see her walking around this movie, she's like, I don't know who I am. I'm like, oh, God. What a dream.
Yeah. I wonder if it's it has to be because it's a medical condition. Like, hopefully, I don't know. It is not practical anyways, but my first thought was like, I wonder if you could get out of some shit with like that. Like, just be like, oh, sorry, IRS, I had amnesia. Like...
That's a great question.
You know what I mean? It has to be because it's a medical condition, so it has to be an exemption for a lot of things like that.
Yeah,
you know? Like if you had jury duty but you had amnesia, they're trying to come after you for not.
Yeah, but
going.
what if you robbed a bank or murdered somebody and then got conked on the head?
Yeah.
And could for sure prove that, oh, I have amnesia now, so sorry, different guy.
Well, the conked on the head would have to happen before the crime was committed.
Would it?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, you rob the bank,
Yeah.
and then you go on the run, and then you get conked in the head,
Yeah.
and then you go to the police, and you're like, hey, I have amnesia, and I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Would they arrest you and be like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you were that guy, and then you spend the rest of your life in jail as a different person who didn't rob that bank?
I mean, I think you're taking a very philosophical look at that.
Yeah.
Like, you would consider someone who has amnesia a totally different person, just not...
If it's permanent and it lasts the rest of their life,
Yeah.
But if they wake up one day and they go, I remember robbing the bank.
Yeah.
In the slammer you go.
Interesting. It's a very interesting distinction to make.
Okay.
But yeah, I think on a governmental level, they'd probably just be like, "Nah, I'm sorry, we got to put you in the slammer."
And what you're saying is, if you get conked in the head and then are like, "I don't know who I am. I'm gonna go rob a bank," and then you rob that bank, and then you remember who you are.
Yeah, they probably still throw you in the slammer.
They would absolutely throw you in the slammer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think both scenarios are going to the slammer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways, we meet a hitman who kills a guy for what reason I don't know. He has like a black book, and he needs the black book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely
Yeah. Very funny scene though, because he accidentally shoots a large woman, and then he tries to coerce a very skinny janitor. I don't know why I'm making so much note of people's body types.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
the bullet goes through the wall and he goes into that room.
He's like, Jesus Christ, and he has to like go kill her now, I guess.
Which he doesn't. I think this scene is very strange because she goes, "Oh, a bug bit me."
Yeah.
Because it like went through a wall and then like maybe grazed her or something like
then
that.
he tries to beat the shit out of her. She's fighting back.
Yeah. And he ends up killing 3 people instead of just 1.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. He could have for sure had that guy shoot him or make it look like that guy shot himself and the bullet.
Yeah, he could have just left.
Yeah,
he could have just left. Really could have just left.
No one saw him.
Yeah. But the scene's better for him having stuck around.
Yeah. It reminds me of specifically the woman just being like, oh, Jesus, big bug bit me or something like that. She reminds me of the woman in Twin Peaks Season 3, where their cops are there to check on Ruth Davenport, I believe. And they need the keys to get in the apartment. You know what I'm talking about? And the woman's like, oh, well, you gotta go talk to Mickey. He's the maintenance guy around here. And they go look for Mickey, and they can't find him. And it's a big comedy of errors. And it turns out the first woman that they talked to was like, oh, I have Ruth's keys. I'm supposed to watch her plants while she's out of town.
Yeah.
Just that woman reminds me of that woman.
Then we get my least favorite part of the whole thing, where that guy describes the dream he has, and how I look over there, and you're super scared, and I'm super scared.
This is your least favorite part of the movie?
Yeah.
This is my absolute favorite part of the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, my God, Chris, I think this scene is so good.
Yeah, that culminates in evil grimace.
Yeah, you didn't like that?
Not really, no.
Oh, Chris, I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That feels like such a you scene, too. Like him sitting there explaining that dream and just being scared.
Yeah.
And I can see you and you're also scared, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I can see this man's face through the building, and
Yeah.
I know he's the reason why.
Yeah.
That's not great to you? I was horrified the entire time he was telling that story. Evil Grimace didn't really scare me.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, up until walking up there, and then the jump scare didn't really get me because, yeah, it looks like
Evil grimace, yeah.
just a dirty old witch sitting behind the dumpster.
Yeah.
But, I just thought all of that was great. It was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. I like, yeah, I guess there are things I like about it, but, I don't know. I don't know how to qualify it other than, like, it's similar to the Hitman scene, in my opinion, where, like, yeah, the comedy errors thing is kind of funny, and like you said, like, yeah, that is a little spooky. I look over there, you're scared, I'm scared, whatever. But ultimately, I don't know. I feel like there's no way I'm going to be able to describe it that doesn't, like you said, like this seems like it should be up your alley. So anything I do to try to qualify why I don't like it, it's just not going to work. But yeah, I don't like hate it. It's just one of those things where like, yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, I wasn't as touched as you were, I guess. I'm sorry.
I think for the rest of this movie, and for if you think of it as a pipe dream or whatever,
yeah,
I think this is the best part of the movie, because when you see her actual life at the end,
yeah,
she's in this diner talking to the hitman actually, and she kind of just glances over and sees the guy from L.A. Noire and whoever he was talking to at the diner.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, apparently in your dreams your mind can't make up a face, so it just puts in people you've seen before. So all of this just feels like, doesn't at all need to be in this movie, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Unless the evil witch is like, I don't know, something. It's got to mean something. Evil. What is evil, Chris? What is the evil witch in this movie?
I don't know, but I guess here's maybe one of the better ways I can put it is, yes, I don't mind the part that's in the diner. I like that, but then there's, because Again, I feel like I'm putting my foot in my mouth because, like, I like things that are dreamy and stuff like that, and that explains it. But, like, they wander out for some reason and then go behind the dumpster and see Evil Grimace. I mean, it's like a dream. Like I said, I can't.
That's what he says in his dream. That's where
the
Evil Grimace is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his friend goes, well, let's go check.
Yeah.
Which is an awful idea. Like, especially when he gets up to go pay the check, and he turns around and looks at him like he does in his dream. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you're allowed to not like things. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked.
Yeah.
We can move on. What happens next?
I don't know. Now I'm kind of at an impasse because, like, the more I think about it, like, I don't even know if I want to be. Perhaps just cut that whole section. I don't think I dislike it enough to, like, make a point of even mentioning it on the podcast.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing here. If you didn't like it, just be like, yeah, this is my least favorite part of the movie. It's your least favorite
yeah, that's a really hot way to come in, because now I'm thinking about some of the other stuff that's in the movie, and I'm like, there's worse stuff. That's not my least favorite in the movie. So let's just cut that little section. And we can talk about it. You start over with this scene. You take the reins from here and just say it's your favorite and stuff and why you like it.
Well, I would argue that our conversation about you saying it's the worst and me saying it's the best is good. So
yeah, but what I'm saying is it's not the worst.
Hey, I'm editing this bad boy. I ain't cutting that out.
But it's not the worst. I don't think it's the worst.
Okay, it's one of your least favorite parts of the movie.
I wouldn't even put it that far.
Really?
Yeah.
no backbone on this guy. You're just flipping and flopping all over the place.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, sometimes you know, like it reminds me of a time when I was young, and
Dumb.
my dad was listening to American Idiot,
Cool.
and just without thinking, I was just like, oh yeah, kind of lazy how each of these songs like just have lines from the other ones in them. And he was like, it's a concept album. That's like the point. And I was like, yeah, why did I even like say that? I wasn't even thinking about that. You know what I mean? Like my mind just recognized the pattern, and I was like, I'm just gonna say this out loud. But like, why did I have to say the lazy part? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, just then when we were talking about that, I guess I meant to say, like, I don't even know what I meant to say. It's just, like, for example, like, earlier when I was talking about the Dan Schneider and I was making the joke about Andy Milonakis,
Mm-hmm.
I started the sentence by saying, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Where, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, that's kind of funny because why the fuck would I say it's one of those things as if the Andy Milonakis situation is applicable to anything else?
Yeah, because
But my brain does that a lot. Just like I will fill in whatever the segue is and then bring up whatever I wanted to talk about next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So just off the cuff, I was like, hey, one of my least favorite scenes. Why?
Yeah, because when you said it earlier, you did not say Andy Milonakis, and you said it's one of those things. I was like, what do you mean one of those things?
Yeah.
I didn't say it to you.
Yeah.
I have noticed you do this thing all the time. It's kind of like that. Where you'll go, yeah, and I was talking to my mom or whatever. I'm like, what do you mean or whatever? You were talking to your mom.
Yeah.
It's like the nice guys.
Yeah.
Dad, there's whores here and stuff. Honey, don't say stuff and stuff. There's just whores here.
So yeah.
Also, both of us have been watching very long video essays about Dan Schneider television shows, so we have him on the brain for some reason. Not for some reason. I just did it for a reason. I just explained the reason and then said for some reason. We should do an episode on this show about the iCarly revival.
Okay.
We won't, but
Yeah.
it's good to think about.
So you're saying you're anti having it stricken from the record, though? That section.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think it led to a nice little conversation.
All right. But anyways, since you're not gonna edit it out, I'm just gonna look like an asshole. Yeah, I like the scene.
Cool.
It's
Great.
fine.
And then,
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
God, that steel trap is just busting at the seams, huh?
Yeah.
Did they find the weird key here?
I think they found it when they were looking at the money, right? Like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
also something about with all of I don't know, I feel like this movie more than any other thing I've seen from him contains a lot of things that relate back to his other work.
Mm.
With actually, you know what? No, it's probably the third season of Twin Peaks because that's kind of one of the points. So a lot of Twin Peaks season 3 relates back to the rest of his work because it's kind of like almost like a retrospective on his career. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the box and the key that she has.
Mm-hmm.
That at the end, when she opens, she disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on. I have supplemental material. I'll be right back. Vamp for a second. Where's the David Lynch book?
On my bookshelf.
Okay, I'm back, and I can see from the waveforms that you did not vamp. David Lynch's book, Catching the Big Fish, Meditation, Consciousness, and Creativity. It's a book I've read 1.5 times. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Yeah, that's my copy.
I know, but it doesn't mean you read it. I read your copy of Frankenstein before you did. Let's see. Going through the index. Can't cut any of this. I'm not going to cut the part you wanted me to cut. I have to leave all of this in. Oh, this isn't what I was going to say. But here, this chapter is called Angelo Badalamenti, who did the music in this movie. I think Angelo Badalamenti should do the music in all of David Lynch's stuff. Remember the scene where the director's talking to the producer and they're like, this is the girl. You're going to hire this girl.
Mm.
Someone brings the guy the coffee and he drinks it and it's bad and he just goes, and spits it out into a napkin. That guy, Angelo Badalamenti. Oh, okay. I found it. Page 115. There's actually, Chris, this is all coming together for me. It's a chapter called Mulholland Drive, where he talks about Mulholland Drive. and this has always confused me, but the next chapter is called The Box and the Key.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one sentence on this page and it says, I have no clue what those are. And so watching this movie, I was like, oh, me neither, David Lynch. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That took way too long. It took way too long for me to get this book and read this one sentence.
Yeah, there's also a recurring theme. Blue Velvet, there's the Blue Rose. The Box and the Key are blue.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Also, we've been doing a lot of Beatles stuff. This book on the cover says it has an interview with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr on it.
It does, yeah.
What are the chances?
I suppose I'll bring up the other thing that reminds me of Blue Velvet. They go to a late night club and there's a singer. Definitely loves that.
I don't remember that in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, when they go to like Silencio at the end. That is my second favorite scene in this movie. Yeah, it gives me big Twin Peaks vibes for sure. Like the club that they're in has to mean something, right? Like it has to be an idea of like an idea, you know what I'm trying to say? Like how like the lodge is like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like I think I get the feeling from it that club in this movie is the same type of deal that like the Black Lodge is in Twin Peaks. Like not so much as it's like where evil spooky demons live, but it's like it's gotta represent like some state of mind or some place where people's consciences meet or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but I do love the scene where that woman sings. It's my favorite David Lynch. A woman sings for 2 minutes uninterrupted on the stage. I like that scene quite a bit, actually, because they've got the guy, the magician or whatever, at the beginning being like, it's all recorded. There's no actual band. And he starts like walking around and stuff and like doing choreographed like act to the music that's playing. And then he leaves, and a woman comes on stage, just sings this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. Everyone in the audience is like tearing up a little bit. I'm tearing up a little bit. I don't speak whatever language the song is being sung in, but it still just resonates. Like the performance this woman is giving is incredible. And then toward the end, she collapses on the ground, and the song keeps going because it's still recording. I'm like, oh, they got us. Yeah, they got us twice.
We also get a couple of shots of I don't know the actor's name or even what his name is in Twin Peaks, but the gentleman who hangs out in the lodge.
The Arm.
Yeah, he plays like
the red suit.
Yeah, he plays kind of ambiguous bad guy.
So strange.
Yeah.
Every time you see him, because this actor, don't know his name unfortunately, but he's a little person, and for some reason in this movie, he has his head on a taller man's body. Like, I think it's like it's got to be a fake person's body.
Interesting. I thought it was just how they were shooting.
No,
I thought it was a trick to make him look normal size.
No, because his head is still the same size. So I think it's his head on a 6'5" man's body. It's very strange. And yeah, he's just the head of like evil corporation that runs the movies.
Yeah. There is also a subplot that involves the Arm, where there's a director who's being strong-armed into casting a very specific person in a role which he kind of tries to rebel against.
Fun fact, this actor wrote Iron Man 2. Go on.
Interesting. Finds out that his girlfriend is cheating on him with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Chris, I just looked up Mulholland Drive because I'm trying to think of the guy's name who played the sheriff in Twin Peaks. I opened it and went, oh, fuck. I hope Chris forgets about Billy Ray Cyrus so I can bring it up. And Billy Ray Cyrus is bad in this movie. I love that he's in it. I wish he was in the whole thing, but I don't know. He's just got like a Lifetime movie feel to him, which I think works for this movie. It works for a David Lynch movie, but at the same time, I'm like, Billy Ray Cyrus doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Robert Forrester is his name. It's not Frank. Not at all.
There's also the entire bit where Naomi Watts' love interest, the amnesiac, she recognizes a name, and they decide to track down her house. They break in. She's decomposing inside of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And I think those are pretty much most of the building blocks that get us to the latter half where everybody shifts around. I don't know that there's much else that happens other than back at the house Naomi Watts is staying in. Her landlord confronts her about her love interest living there, as well as one of her neighbors, an elderly woman, comes to the door babbling nonsense at one point, and the landlord corrals her. But other than that,
She's like, something terrible's going to happen to you. And then the landlord goes, she's usually wrong. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's pretty much a wrap on first half. Weird stuff.
She has an audition.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And there's a scene where she's practicing it with Rita, the amnesiac.
Oh, yeah, I also forgot that they lick nipples and stuff.
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
She practices it with Rita, and it's just like a over-the-top, hey, you can't be doing this to me anymore, stepdad, or whatever the scene is in the movie that she's going to be in. And then she goes to the audition, plays it totally different. It is just over-the-top sexy. And then she, I think, goes home, and then her and Rita put each other's boobs in their mouth. And they do it a lot in this movie, which led both of us to think that that's what David Lynch thinks, that how two women have sex with each other. And no one has told him. And you were reading me a review by famous film critic
Roger Ebert?
Roger Ebert, being like, this is the culmination of David Lynch's career and like what he's been building to his whole life. And I'm like, Robert, immediately forgot his name again.
Ebert.
Roger Ebert. Are you also a horny little freak just like David Lynch? Because this movie's so unnecessarily horny just at every turn.
Yeah, that is frequently a word used to describe Lynch's work in general as psychosexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like this more than anything else. It's like,
most people point to Blue Velvet being the prime example of it.
But this one just, it felt more overt than Blue Velvet to me personally. Spoilers, but it feels almost like the opposite of TITANE. We'll get there when we get there, but yeah, it just made me, a lot of it kind of weirdly felt like David Lynch being like, I think they're gonna let me do this.
And then the latter half, all kinds of shit gets shifted around. The car accident happens again, but it's Naomi Watts in the back this time.
And the car accident doesn't happen. She's just in that car and they stop, and she goes, we're not supposed to stop here.
Okay.
And then the door opens and Rita, whatever her name is now, comes out of the woods and goes, we're taking a shortcut. Mm-hmm. And she leads her up this hill to Justin Trudeau's house. And the shot of her leading her up the hill and like holding her hand and her looking at her, like you see it from Naomi Watts' point of view. And that shot is 110% exactly the same shot in the third season of Twin Peaks, where he's holding Laura Palmer's hand through the woods. I think, is that the first part that we get of New Life or Real Life? Because we blew past Cowboy. Favorite character in this movie.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau has to go see a cowboy for some reason. And there's just a man dressed like a cowboy who seems like he's never acted a day in his life. And he just talks like this. And he tells Justin Trudeau he has to go here at this time and do this with this person. And I love him, and I think he's great, and I wish he was in more of this movie. But the only other time you see him is there is a shot of the dead woman that they find. And someone's knocking on the door. Nobody answers. Knock on the door again. Opens it. It's Cowboy. And he goes, are you going to wake up? Okay. And shuts the door. And then dead woman turns over and it's Naomi Watts. Mm-hmm. And then you get car stuff and then they're at the party. And yeah, you find out that these two, her and Rita, whatever her real name are, have been in a relationship. And they both are actresses, and Rita becomes very famous, but she does not, and then she leaves him for the director. She leaves her for the director, and it kind of ruins Naomi Watts' life.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from there, she's like the girlfriend of the hitman.
Is she?
Yeah, or maybe, no, I guess not. Yeah, I think she's just meeting the hitman, hiring him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, when the hit is done.
Yeah.
Because she's hiring him to kill her ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he says, when it's done, I'll leave this blue key on your kitchen table or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's strange because it's a different type of key than the one that was with the box.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we forgot that. We talked about it, but we didn't lead them together. They go to the club. They see the woman sing. She finds a box in her purse. They get back. They open it. They disappear. Then you get dead body. And her neighbor comes over to get her stuff.
Isn't it after? But the key in the box that things become different, or is it?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The key. They open the key in the box. They open the box with the key, and then you see the body and the cowboy, and then it becomes, I guess, real life or whatever. And
when do the old people from the beginning run around the house?
And they're really tiny, yeah.
But then they become big.
Yes, and then she shoots herself and the movie is over.
Okay. And we see Evil Grimace one more time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Also, she beats off and cries. It's very weird. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she kills herself.
Yeah. B minus.
C plus. Good talk.
Yeah.
Watch that mattress, man.
Any closing thoughts? Any way to surmise the movie?
I'd for sure like to see it again.
Yeah.
I'm sure my C plus won't stand after I see it another time.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
would
said,
already bump Blue Velvet higher than I think I gave it a B plus. I'd probably bump it higher.
Yeah. This is for sure my least favorite David Lynch thing I've seen.
Yeah.
But again, I'd like to see it again.
This is an odd one. Primarily because I had such a faulty concept of what it was going into it. That it was kind of like an orienting experience.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it, and at the same time was mildly underwhelmed.
Yeah.
It reminds me mostly, as you said many, many times, of like the Fire Walk With Me season 3-ish kind of David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I'll say is that there was a review I read where someone noted that it seems, quote unquote, out of time.
Yeah.
That time is 2001.
That time is 2001. There's a scene where
there's nothing timeless about this film.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
very firmly rooted in a very specific time.
It's the scene at the diner that is your least favorite part of the movie. Those two guys are talking, and the waitress comes by, and me and you were both like, oh, whoa. That haircut that waitress has existed very specifically for 6 months in the year 2001.
Yeah.
That's firmly cemented where this movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say, though. I'd like to see this movie again, but like I said at the beginning, I just cannot do another movie right now where it's somebody's brain dream.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see this movie through that perspective again immediately. So, I don't know. I'm going to let it cool off for a few months and then see it again. Like most David Lynch things I've seen, most of his films specifically, I watch and I'm underwhelmed through the whole thing pretty much. And then when it's over, I'm like, oh, no, I actually really liked that. The more time I sit on it. But for some reason, yeah, Mulholland Drive, I was just kind of underwhelmed the whole time, and then it was over, and I've been pretty underwhelmed. With the exception of the diner scene. And yeah, I think maybe I just need to give it another go. But as it stands right now, I'm going to give it a C+.
All right.
TITANE.
Yep, movie number 2. TITANE, directed by Julia Ducournau,
Close.
and starring Agathe Roussel. It's a 2021 French body horror film that asks the important question, what if everything you know is bullshit? Mainly the idea of family values, gender roles, and your fucked up right-wing conformist assumptions that cars don't jizz. Wikipedia? Oh, okay, sorry. Wikipedia describes it as a film about, quote, a woman who, after being injured in a car accident as a child, has a titanium plate fitted into her head. And, like, yeah, I guess. There's really no way of describing this movie without spoiling huge chunks of it. So just take my word for it. This movie is pretty rad, and you should see it. 6.5 out of 10.
Also, I don't think it's... I know it's not pronounced Titane.
Yeah.
Titane. It's the French word for titanium.
Yeah.
But...
I feel like I've heard everyone call it titanium.
I've had the exact opposite experience. I've heard everyone pronounce it correctly.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how. Chris, I don't know if you know this about me. I'm not a French guy. I'm pretty sure you're not either. So, this film and its main character, from here on out, are called Titane.
All right.
Chris, what's your experience with Titane?
I've just heard a little bit of stuff here and there, but nothing like, I guess, what I thought it was at all, in a sense. Like, I don't know what I'd really heard other than just kind of like, oh, this is like a must-see movie of 2021. I had vague impressions of woman, family values. Did not really know the car thing, the pregnant by a car thing, up until you had kind of said it the other day. So, yeah, just kind of vague impressions of it being a movie to watch from 2021. So,
yeah, I had a very similar thing where I just heard rumblings. I heard some people here and there talk about this movie and how good it was, and how I heard up front that this movie's about a girl getting impregnated by a car, but then that's not really the point, and that a really touching movie follows. And I kept thinking, yeah, I should check that movie out. I'm gonna put that on my list one of these days. I'm gonna check it out. And the other day, I saw it was on Hulu. And I said, Christopher, we should watch this movie. And you said, it's been on my list. And we watched it. Chris, what'd you think of Titane?
I like Titane. It reminds me a lot of Videodrome. From the rip, I'll also say that, like, I don't care too much about her being pregnant with a car. That part exists, kind of like a David Lynch movie where, like, let's just say, like, that movie's a pipe dream or whatever. I'm not necessarily interested in that aspect of it, but more so, like, the idea of, like, Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet as that idea of, like, a mystery and the stakes of getting involved and that kind of a thing. So, for me, her being pregnant with the car just adds another layer of drama for her and her situation, that she has to hide this pregnancy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know that I read online something about how, like, oh, she's like a machine and she doesn't relate to human beings and that's why she fucks a car. And it's like, okay. It's kind of tinny as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think...
Kind of like the pipe dream aspect. Where it's like, that's a little tinny. Yeah, I see it, but it almost makes it worse. Like, because then it just becomes cliched, like, Hollywood's just full of crack whores who wanted to be actresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? The same way that it's like, oh, she fucks a car because she can't relate to human beings, like.
I think big emphasis on that. I think her getting in the car accident at the beginning, getting the
scrambled her brains,
and they put a nice titanium plate in her head, and that's like a metaphor for why she's such a cold person as an adult. But mainly, that really is just kind of trying to show you her parents, because her dad's pretty mean to her at the beginning. And I think, the whole car accident and then the plate turning her into a cold person is supposed to be, hey, her parents sucked, so she's a mean, cold person.
Yeah.
Who we find out immediately murders a lot of people.
Often.
Quite often. This movie starts after the car accident, and the very graphic scene of her getting the plate put into her head, which was hard for me to watch. I never feel that way about movies usually. Like, I feel pretty desensitized. Like, when I hear people talk about this movie, they're like, yeah, it's really hard to watch. And I was like, not really. I didn't think. And I feel bad whenever that happens, when people are like, oh, this movie's gross, it's tough to watch. I'm always like, I mean, it was yucky, but I was never like, oh god, I can't be looking at this. It shows she's at a car show, and she's just a dancer who dances on top of a car. Very strangely, a bunch of men want her autograph, and I guess she's famous for this, which is strange and doesn't really add up to me.
Well,
what?
Porn conventions. Men are horny.
Yeah. But the idea that you see a woman dancing on a car and go, gotta get that babe's autograph.
I think you'd be surprised.
It reminds me of dudes who like, it reminds me of the type of dudes who like have a picture of them with all the Hooters waitresses and stuff like that. But she gets done dancing on the car, and then...
Well, I'm going to backtrack for a minute.
Oh, sorry, did I kind of just run with it?
No, but I tossed it back and forth, and I'm going to admit this. I'm not proud of it, and I don't stand by it.
You have a picture of you with a Hooters waitress?
No. But your interpretation is definitely the most, I guess, like, morally sound. But definitely in the beginning, I was like, this little fucking TITANE, I already don't like her.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Throughout this whole movie, I was like, TITANE can do no wrong. I did not like TITANE. I love TITANE.
But yeah, she's doing the car noise, and that's fine. I understand that kids can be annoying after a while. Dad doesn't handle it the best.
Oh yeah, no.
She turns up the music. He turns up the music. Then she starts doing it louder, and I'm like, yeah, kids can be little shits. And he's just ignoring it or whatever. Then she starts kicking the fuck out of his chair, and I'm like, oh man, TITANE is pushing it. And then she takes her seatbelt off while they're on the highway, and he turns around to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Kind of a thing, and they get into a car accident. And my first thought legitimately was, it's what you get.
Yeah.
TITANE, that's what you get. Yeah. Literally, that's what your dad was trying to stop you from.
Yeah. I get that for sure.
To be fair, it was caused by him even being like, hey, put your seatbelt. Like, he should not have turned around.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's entirely his fault, and it is not TITANE's fault. But again, just because of... It's almost like the Babadook, where, like, you're not supposed to just hate a kid.
But you hate that kid.
And you aren't supposed to cheer on when physical harm happens to a child. And that's not what I'm doing. But yeah, there was a tiny voice in my head when immediately when I was out, but I was like, well, someone shouldn't have taken their seatbelt off, huh?
TITANE, you made this metal bed, now you gotta lay in it.
Yeah.
Dances on car, gives some autographs, is taking a shower with all the rest of the models there.
I will also backtrack one more time. While she does get swarmed, quote unquote, by like 3 dudes wanting autographs, I do love that it's like such an intense scene when she's dancing and stuff, and then it just kind of hard cuts to like nobody's actually really paying attention. Like they're just kind of coming and going in the car show. Yeah. It's not like there's like an audience or anything like that.
Yeah, she's seemingly doing it for
an audience of one.
Herself.
The Spank Bank.
The Spank Bank.
Her own Spank Bank.
Yeah,
she's thinking about that car.
I like the juxtaposition of that scene and the scene that immediately follows, kind of, and what follows for the rest of this movie.
Okay.
When it comes to, I really enjoy is a bad word to say for this. I really admire the way nudity is used in this movie because it's French, and so I was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess French people are much more open with this, but I like how she's dancing on the car and it's supposed to be like hyper erotic and stuff like that, and then it cuts to them in the showers and it's just, hey, we're just naked here. And the way nudity is used in this movie, and I guess sexuality is used in this movie, it's like that, like with the it's only ever like supposed to be like super sexual when it involves a car for some reason. She's dancing in the car when she's having the sex with the car, but then later it's like, oh no, she's just a person who is existing in her own apartment and she's naked. And then you get the scenes like later where it's like just a pregnant woman naked crying and just being like, hey, this sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm not Chris, I'm not cultured, I don't know stuff, I'm not cosmopolitan. But no, I've just never seen nudity used this way in a movie before. and I really appreciated it. But she's taking the shower with the other people. Her hair gets caught in someone else's nipple ring.
Another act of cruelty. She just yanks it out.
She just yanks it out. She's like, I thought you said it didn't hurt. It hurts when you yank it, but I like when she's like, the nipple ring girl is trying to talk to her, and she's just ignoring her. And he gets caught. She's like, oh, touchy, whatever. Like, you tell me your name now? She goes, do you beep when you go to the airport?
Yeah.
And then I think from here she leaves, and more dudes swarm her to get autographs.
One dude. No, two dudes. It's two dudes.
She signs one of them and tells the other guy to fuck off.
Yeah, that she's done for the day or whatever. Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. Your max is 4 autographs in a day.
Yeah, and then she puts her hair up and puts it in place with one metal chopstick, which is cool. I think it's just a badass move to see anyone just do that real quick and then shove the chopstick in. And then she walks to her car, and a guy follows her. And he knocks on the window, and he's like, oh, God, I want an autograph. Titane, I love you. And she gives him the autograph, and he's like, I'm in love with you, by the way. And she's like, doesn't say anything. And he's just like, I know it's weird. I just thought maybe you and I could be friends, and maybe I could, convince you that we should be in love.
Real Pepe Le Pew.
Real Pepe Le Pew shit here. And he, forcibly kisses her. And she, kind of resists at first, and then she just goes for it. And she's just making out hardcore with this dude. She's sitting in her car. He's, standing outside the car, leaned in through the window. And then she takes a metal chopstick out of her hair and then shoves it through his ear. And he starts foaming at the mouth, and he dies. Then she goes over, puts her foot on his head, and then grabs the chopstick with both hands and has to yank it out. And this sets up that, she kills. She kills a lot of people in this movie.
Hate the white stuff coming out of mouths when people die.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard to look at for me.
Because I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I know it happens.
It makes me think of cum.
Yeah. I just
wish it didn't.
I don't have that problem, but I think it's gross. I don't know what, I don't know the anatomy of that. What in my body is going to create a foam that extrudes from my mouth.
Yeah. She takes another shower. Lightning McQueen comes knocking.
Kachuga.
Oh, he Kachuga.
She goes outside and they Kachuga. She has sex with a car. Not much more to say about that. She just has sex with a car. And then, is she immediately pregnant?
Pretty much she starts the next day being like, oh, what's wrong with my tummy? And she has Papa come look at it, and Papa doesn't really want to look at it as much as he should.
Yeah.
And I think she's already got a little bit of oil.
Yep.
Yeah, because they got that wild shot of her crotch underneath the blankets. She's watching the news and stuff. I don't know exactly when this happens, but it seems like pretty much after it. That's when she's on the beach with her lover. She starts sucking on a nipple. It's a nice parallel to Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
Just starts yanking on it with her teeth, and she's like, yeah, fucking stop that. And it gets violent enough to the point where she runs away from her. And then she kind of confides in that girl that she might be pregnant. She takes a test, and also more black oil. And then she's knocking on the door. The lover is, and she's like, what's the dealio? Home slice, is your prego ego?
Oh, and she pisses on the pregnancy test, looks at it, and then takes the chopstick again, and then just starts getting up in there.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
She gets,
hard to watch.
For sure, gets her money use out of this one chopstick that she has. She uses it constantly in this movie for the worst stuff imaginable.
Yeah. She then kills her lover. A gentleman wanders down the stairs. She kills him. Then another woman comes down the stairs. He tells her to call the cops as he's dying. She goes upstairs to take care of that, and then bumps into a fourth person. Kind of becomes a little bit of a comical scene because she's like, how many people are here? Another parallel to Mulholland Drive. It reminds me of the ultra-violent scene we get in the other one where multiple people die, and it's also funny. After she mass murders that whole house, she goes home to burn her clothes and sets the whole house on fire and locks her parents into their room, presumably killing them as well.
I don't remember that.
No,
I might have left for a second, but no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, basically she takes her clothes from that event. She takes them into the garage, throws them in a little barrel, covers them in lighter fluid, lights it, watches it just keep growing and growing until it engulfs the wall and the ceiling. And then she walks from the garage, which is attached to the house, upstairs. She opens up the door. Her parents are laying there. Her mom's asleep. Her dad isn't. They make quiet eye contact, kind of like Spud and Ewan McGregor. And she grabs the key from the other side, kind of rapidly, and he gets up to try to stop her, but she closes the door and locks it, and then she's walking down the highway, and she gets picked up for a hitchhike. Hitchhike takes her to the airport. There's cops everywhere.
Oh, that girl got away, by the way. We missed that. The girl from the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the girls got away.
And now she's on the run, and the cops are looking for her.
Yeah, and she decides to do a very French thing. Pretend to be a missing boy.
Yes. You see him on the news earlier, and you see just a picture of him on a billboard at the airport or train station, wherever she is. And she goes, I kind of look like that kid. I could be an adult version of that kid, because I think I read somewhere that this actress was cast because she's androgynous. But she goes in the bathroom and cuts her hair, and then goes, I gotta smash this nose up real good for some reason. Personally, my biggest problem with this movie, that kid, the police sketch of him as an adult, A, looks nothing like the kid. B, looks nothing like TITANE.
Yeah.
And so she goes to the police and goes, hey, I'm boy.
Yeah. And Dad comes. Even in that scene, I like that you can tell that, like, he doesn't actually think that's his kid.
He's suspect, for sure.
Yeah. Nonetheless, they go home. He's crying about, like, why don't you say anything? Why don't you say anything? TITANE just refuses to say anything for a long time. They may have dinner together. Then he puts TITANE to bed and, for some reason, insists that he undresses TITANE. Maybe that's how the French treat their sons. I don't know.
Great question.
But she concedes to undressing with him turned around. Then pretty soon after, we also glazed over the fact that in the bathroom where she cuts her hair, she starts doing something she does for the rest of the movie, where she binds both her chest and her pregnant belly.
Yeah.
Which gets increasingly painful for her, and just hard to watch because of how much belly there is to compress, and also all the sores all over her body from wearing it just nonstop. Yeah.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we mention he's a firefighter? That's where they are. They're at the fire station.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a fire station, and TITANE is introduced to all of the men who work underneath him in the fire station. For some reason, they immediately code TITANE as gay. I'm assuming that's just because they can tell that something's other about her. But anyways, one guy specifically slowly throughout the course of the second half of the film, pieces together who she is and tries to inform the dad, but the dad genuinely doesn't care.
Do you know what that character's name is?
No.
Conscience.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, he does say, he's like, they call me Conscience. Anyways, there's also a simulation they run with Conscience and French Daddy, where he hallucinates seeing a boy engulfed in flame, like an ashen boy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what that's about.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Fire Dad, also just day in, day out putting steroids in his butt.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't expect there to be a silence after I said that. So.
Okay. French Daddy also makes TITANE dance with him, which leads to them fighting a bit. As far as like even like the French Dad being like, if you want to fight, let's fucking fight. Also, TITANE tries to kill him, but through her relationship with the French Daddy seems to, for the first time, Grinch style, grow kind of an affection for another human being, a cure for her condition, if you will. And
again, big asterisks, big emphasis on I think. And also, much like Mulholland Drive, I did some research on this movie after seeing it, looking at other people's thoughts and opinions. And the narrative I have built, I think it really like comes to a head here when TITANE leaves after fighting Dad, and they're on the bus. TITANE is on the bus with that other woman, and those guys come on the bus and harass that woman, but ignore TITANE. And TITANE is like, maybe I will keep being a dude. Maybe I'll go back to dad and keep being a dude. And I think it's one of the themes of this movie is that, like, the bullshit of gender norms and stuff like that, where when Titane is pregnant, Titane feel bad. When Titane is doing female things, Titane feel bad. When Titane accepts that now that they're this person's son and they live this life, they feel better about themselves. And the flip side of that is Fire Dad. Again, fireman, very masculine job usually, is trying as hard as he can to cling to that masculine, strong youth thing because he's injecting himself with steroids constantly. But the only time you ever see Fire Dad happy is when he's having these raves. These very homoerotic raves with all the other firefighters. And at the end when they have the baby. And I got nothing else.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna have something deeper to say about that by the time I got to the end of it, but I was like, hey, here's some things I maybe have noticed. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like the Iron Giant. French Daddy eventually, I mean, just blatantly states, like, I know.
I really like this part.
Yeah, and I don't care. You know what I mean? You're my son, and you'll always be my son.
I love that. For sure, Chris, I love Fire Dad. But I thought for sure watching this movie, I'm like, nah, there's going to be a part where Fire Dad gets definitive proof and kills Titane or something like that. But I really, really love that scene where he comes in and he goes, I don't care who you are, you're my son. It's like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Prior to that, Mama comes, and Mama does definitively find that proof, and even she is like, I don't give a shit, he just needs someone, so you cannot leave. You have to be there for him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you've already stated, their favorite pastime is to drink and smoke and shirtless rave-style dance together. Titane stops everybody in their tracks by dancing.
They all grab Titane and throw him up on the top of this fire truck and go, dance for us, Titane!
Yeah, and I wonder if it's interesting to note that specifically Titane dances in a very feminine way, and that seems to turn all of them off. Whereas, as you're saying earlier, the whole very homoerotic stuff where they're just being shirtless and masculine with each other, it's totally great. And then, somehow Titane stops them all in their tracks.
And they all go, we're fucking out of here. And Titane goes,
I'm gonna fuck this truck.
I'm gonna fuck this truck.
And then she gives birth, but not before sexually coming on to her dad figure, which dad figure rejects. The birthing takes place.
She cracks like an egg.
Yeah.
Big
and
metal
dies.
Egg. And dies.
But the baby's alive with a metal spine. And French Daddy is here. Je suis ici.
Zut alors. One complaint I have about this movie, and I would say it's probably my biggest complaint. I wanted Car Baby to be more fucked up. I wanted Car Baby to make me squirm. Yeah, I wanted this movie to be executive produced by David Cronenberg so he could get in there and go, this baby's too much like a normal baby. Yeah, you just see the back of the baby. It looks like a normal baby with a metal spine.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of...
I wanted this thing to have fucking headlights, Chris.
I wish I had thought about it more prior to doing this, which is an embarrassing thing to admit on a movie podcast. But some of the film scholarship that I've read has made... It may have been a scholar named Mulvey. I could be misattributing this, but... there's a nice piece out there. I mean, honestly, I could, you could even just give me a second to pull it up. But, okay, I think it was Carol Clover, who was kind of continuing on with what Laura Mulvey was doing with feminist film critique. And slasher films. It was one of the first, if not the first, film scholarship pieces to take slasher films with any kind of I guess, like, respect or whatever you want to refer to it as. But the argument she was kind of making was that, like, at large, slasher films, very specifically, in her point of view, unjustly are treated as if they're, like, just garbage. Just the lowest of the low. Couldn't be more base. Barely above pornography, if not adjacent to pornography. Mm-hmm. And her argument was that it couldn't be farther from the truth, and that especially in low-budget independent horror, there's not a finger closer to the pulse of whatever generation is making them.
Yeah.
That's the most direct way to see how kids at that time view the world, specifically in relation to things like gender, sexuality, and stuff like that. And in that regard, one of the things that struck me about TITANE very immediately was, and I'm talking like first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, so this is like a really interesting movie where your main character becomes Jason Voorhees, and also for some reason everybody's nice to them and they're allowed to operate within society, but also they're not like a predator stalking prey. They just kind of act at random. Mm-hmm. But it's basically like, given those like specifications I just gave, the only reason why I clarified that was because it's basically a slasher movie.
It is for like 10 minutes, which is so strange. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And in general, it's basically a horror movie. Now, another interesting thing that it does, being both of those things in my opinion, is instead of doing the Hitchcock thing where the first half is the normal half and the second half is the slasher film or whatever, it does the exact opposite. The second half becomes normal.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't have any finer points to make. You made a couple earlier, but other than to say that, like, from that regard, it is an interesting contemporary examination of, some of those themes of gender and, and stuff like that. So if you have anything to roll with that.
Yeah, just what I said earlier about what you're saying right now. All of that and the whole chosen family aspect of it, or Fire Dead and TITANE become exactly what the other person needs, even if it's just for a moment or two before TITANE splits like a big metal egg. Mm-hmm. But I will say, at the end of the day, I do not understand the car stuff. I don't. Yeah. At this point in time, I still just don't get this car sex in the car, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw a couple of things out there, and I'm just, thinking right now, like, one of the things that the dad situation reminds me of is, like, the emphasis these days on, like, forget your family if they don't understand you. Mm-hmm. Go find your family.
Yeah. Love that. It's great.
Do you think that's accurate to...
Yeah, I think you just put a finer point on what I was trying to say.
Okay. With the car thing, is there the chance that it's basically the Videodrome thing, where they're just saying that, like, people in general are becoming like TITANE in a sense, just from, like, our interaction with technology at large, that we're kind of becoming cold and uncaring to, like, violence and people in general just dying and stuff like that, and that we're becoming more cruel and stuff like that? Do you think it's some of that?
Yeah. Could it be... Okay, hear me out on this.
Because also, just real quick to wrap that little thought up, like the becoming pregnant with the pseudo-technology human baby kind of reminds me of, like, the whole idea of new flesh and Videodrome and stuff like that. Giving birth to something that's not quite human, but it's somewhere in between the new technologies that augment us and...
Yeah.
I
could also see it as...
a way to raise the stakes.
Just stick with me here.
Okay.
Because I don't have this thought fully formed, and I'm just going to start talking.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
The way, especially at the beginning, cars are shown off, that they're these weird, sexy things to be ogled by men at the beginning. And there's this big show where they get them all nice and shiny and show them off. And they also have women dancing on top of them.
Yeah.
And they're these things for men to, control.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe TITANE feels most connected to a car and relates more so with a car. especially since she has titanium in her brain as well.
Yeah.
On top of all the video drum stuff that you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I did earlier, didn't have a finer point before I started talking.
No, that's fair. I mean, that's one of the cornerstones of almost like any feminist critique of anything is the, like, even just, for one of my classes right now, I'm taking a class called Modernism and Modernity, and it has an emphasis on the idea of like mobility, which I'm kind of struggling to grasp even from the rip. We had to read a paper that was trying to distinguish the difference between movement and mobility.
Yeah.
And it was, maybe in explaining it to you, I can help make sense of my mind. It was trying to distinguish that movement is like point A to point B, a line on a map, that kind of a thing, like actually moving in general. Whereas mobility is sort of, in a sense, making sense of that. Like, to give you an example, like something like an immigrant or an idea coming from somewhere like Paris and then being able to see that in New York, in a sense. Maybe another example would be like, again, the mobility of something like a concept, to give like a very fine example. The idea that like how blood moves through veins and stuff, when that was discovered, very immediately got picked up by like urban developers, and a lot of that language of like congestion and all that kind of stuff became how they described the movement through a city. Okay. And that like urban mobility. Like that being like mobility being like the sense made of that movement, I guess. Okay. Am I making any sense?
Kind of.
Yeah. Like I said, it's still kind of flimsy. I'm still trying to figure it out entirely, but go ahead. I'm going somewhere, by the way, with the feminist thing.
Would it be like, I'm trying to think of another example of what you were saying. Movement would be going from the suburbs to downtown. Yeah. And mobility would be getting on the train system built by the city. Going from the suburbs to downtown. That's not good. No, that's not what you were saying.
Perhaps another example is like mobility is almost like a social mobility, almost like the idea that you could move up from middle class to upper class. Oh, okay. Right? Like you could, that's a movement, but also the mobility implies a bunch of things for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
That kind of a thing. Like, yeah, it's really tricky to kind of like, because like I said, I don't know. I could give you the paper and you could try to make some sense out of it, but it is...
I'd rather not.
Yeah, wishy-washy. I mean, even in class, it was discussed that, like, sometimes the words get used kind of interchangeably. But I think at large, the more important thing to be taken from the paper was, like, some of the things that kind of go hand in hand with modernism, like the idea that, like, mobility... in general is kind of associated with like youth and like freedom, and all of those things were much more, kind of available. Like in the turn of the century, that's the modern period, whatever. Like in the 20s, like, suddenly there's airplanes overhead and there's trains and stuff like that, and you can move, and that's encouraged. And prior to that, it wasn't really encouraged. You kind of stayed where you're from, and people who moved like that were seen as like outsiders, and that was something to shun. But now was this new thing, Anyways,
can I take another crack at it?
Sure, but I'm saying I don't even have a good enough understanding of the concept to even tell you whether or not it's exactly okay. Right, but go ahead.
Movement would be going from 3rd Street to 1st Street.
Yeah.
Mobility would be going from 3rd chair clarinet to 1st chair clarinet.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps. But anyways, in that, they tell this very specific anecdote about... I'll get to the anecdote in a second. They talk about the way in which sperm and egg are coded in
yucky stuff
in medical textbooks, and how up until that point, like the speed at which sperm moved was amazing, and the amount of sperm that men could produce is remarkable, and it penetrates the egg and impregnates the egg, and how the egg was kind of coded, very classically as like being passive, right? And masculinity, just universally is referred to as being the active, right? And femininity is being the passive, right? And how that's slowly changing, like most things, and how these days medical professionals, like the field at large, accepts that the egg is as much an agent in this process as the sperm is, that it has its own set of things that are remarkable about how it chooses sperm or whatever it is, right? I'm not a medical professional. And we got so far off topic with the mobility thing, I don't know where I was exactly going with that, but you were talking about the spectacle and the to be observed thing with Titane and the car situation. And there was going to be some way where I bridged that between like that concept that you were speaking of and the concept that I just brought up are two of like the fundamental building blocks of like feminist critique of almost anything, is like, how are women portrayed and how are men are portrayed are broken down into those two things. Like traditionally, men are usually coded as the one that like ogles, the one that views, the viewer. Women are the thing to be viewed.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's also the active and the passive. Women are passive in the act of being watched. Men are the ones that are usually being watched, or that are doing the watching, right? So, yes, there is definitely something to be said for what you were saying is all I meant to say, but we took too long to get there, so I can't remember what my finer point was.
Great.
Yeah.
One last little fun thing I'd like to say.
Yeah.
That is not something I came up with.
Okay.
It's not something I found up by myself.
Okay.
It is, hey, full transparency here. I heard someone else on another movie podcast say this in reference to Titane.
Okay.
But, fun fact.
Yeah.
In French, which I'm sure you know because you took a little bit of French, there are gendered pronouns for objects.
Mm-hmm.
Cars are women.
Yeah,
Cars
interesting.
are...
What about titanium?
Cars are... No, I don't know. I don't know if they have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in France you'd have to say, well, there's la and la, correct? Mm-hmm. One's masculine, one's feminine, and you always use the feminine one when you're talking about a car.
Yeah. I could be talking entirely out of my ass, but I feel like there are a decent amount of objects that are women.
Yeah.
Like la, L-A, is the feminine one, and le is the masculine one. And there's a store over there at Somerset Mall called Sur la Table, or whatever. I don't know how you say table. I can't remember how to pronounce it in French. But Sur is on, like S-U-R, and la is the feminine the, so I assume table is feminine as well. So maybe there is a masculine table, though. Maybe if you're talking about a guy, you say, oh, you're sitting at the fucking table. The motherfucking table.
Ugh.
Anyways, Titane's pretty good. Overall, like I said, it's, one of those things that, like, in my opinion, definitely, there's just the, I've mentioned it before, and so have a lot of people. There is the draw to, like, when a horror movie is good, to try to separate it from the genre. But
yeah.
This is a horror movie. As far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much a slasher movie. And, accepting those things, even in my own opinion, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, damn, like, what do I even rate this? I'd probably give it about what I gave Mulholland Drive, like a B-, maybe more as time goes on, but this is definitely something special, and it's especially special, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. When you find something like this, that's contemporary.
Yeah.
So, it's a very neat thing, and it's a very modern thing. Go watch today's Videodrome today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I would like to see it again, probably sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Love what you were saying about it being a reverse horror movie, basically, or a reverse slasher.
Mm-hmm.
You get all the killing right up front in one scene, and then the rest of it happens. Yeah, I think.
Well, you kind of get a condensed form of it in general, because you get, the one murder, then you get the triple murder. Triple murder is usually like, the climax when, like, everybody starts to get murdered, leading up to there being one person. Not entirely the climax, but the last little bit of rising action that kind of comes to the climax. And then traditionally, you also get like a final girl, like someone the murderer does not kill, and she tries to kill French Dad, but doesn't. He overpowers her, and not only overpowers her physically, but emotionally.
Yeah.
You know. So French Daddy's kind of the final girl.
He is. He is. I think this movie shot really well. I think all the music choices are great in it. Love all the performances in it. Even though
the last song she's dancing to is a version of the country song her dad is listening to in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I think all the performances are great, and it's so strange when I see a movie that's in a language I don't speak, and the performance really gets through to me. Because like when I think about this movie, in my mind it's a silent film. And I can't think of anyone really saying anything because I don't, speak the language, so none of that really penetrated my brain.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, I don't know either of the actors' names, but TITANE and Fire Dad.
Yeah.
Are just top notch in this movie.
I don't like to participate in a lot of table talk, but I am very deeply compelled for next week's movie, my choice to be India Song.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because it's a French film just like this one. It's dreamy and surreal, but definitely not in a David Lynch way. It's a very different take on that.
Okay.
And also it definitely ties into some of the feminist themes of this movie and some of the things we talked about.
All right. And I'll pick Indiana Jones. That's a bad joke. I'm going to cut that one. Anyway.
No, that's very funny.
Anyway, I give TITANE...
No, it's a really good joke. You should have cut that. Yeah.
I'm going to give the TITANE a B+.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, any closing anything or just that's...
I forgot to make you do improv this week. Sorry. I'll do it tomorrow. Chris, I promise I'll do it next week.
All right. Well, that's all, Mattress Man. Or that's fuck. No, that's that, Mattress Man. No, I ruined my own bit.
Yeah, man. Come on.
God damn.
Give it one more shot.
All right. That's that, Mattress Man. The other one's funnier, though, I guess. Perhaps.
Give it
Okay. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time...